Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. It is said that real estate investing is a mental game. In fact, I would expand that to say that entrepreneurship is a mental game. But what does that really mean? It means having the discipline of investing and managing projects overcome your emotions. It's said that most decisions are made emotionally, and the logic to support the decision is then brought to the forefront to justify the emotional decision. On today's show, we're talking about deal momentum. Let's say you have your eye on a property that you think's got potential. The initial analysis looks favorable, you manage to get it under contract, and all the usual due diligence conditions apply. You have a term sheet from the lender, and you have several investors who like the deal. You've completed your due diligence, and everything seems ready to go. But late in the game, a week before closing, an issue arises on title. In addition, just 1 week before closing, you're starting to see signs regarding your property manager that are alarming. You don't live in the same city, and you don't have time in the next week to fly and recruit a new property manager to replace the one you've got. The title issue will not affect your use of the property, but might ultimately affect the saleability of the property in the future. You've spent 2 months working on the project. You've spent money on appraisals, Phase 1 environmentals, legal fees, reviewing documents, countless hours putting the whole deal together. In 1 week's time, you'll get all of those fees reimbursed, and you'll earn the acquisition fee that you put in the offering memorandum with your investors. Most of the purchase contracts include a clause that is an open condition requiring the transfer of marketable title. That condition does not expire right up until the minute of closing. Even though you've waived conditions, the title condition remains in full force and effect right up until closing. So it's still a conditional sale, even though most people consider that at this point in time, you've got a firm contract. Now, if you'd known the issues with title and the issues with your team at the start of the project, you probably would not have chosen to proceed with the deal. But here you are a week before closing, and all systems are go. This is clearly a case of deal momentum. I remember watching the launch of a NASA rocket. The countdown was well underway, and 10 seconds before launch, Mission Control scrubbed the launch. Every single project requires a continual risk assessment. In the case of a space launch, the consequences are clear. But every project, once fully launched, becomes a one-way street. It's just like a rocket. There's no backing up. You can only go forward. But when you have a deal that runs into problems, the correct solution is to stop. That is, assuming you're before the launch. Inform all the stakeholders of the issue and negotiate accordingly with the seller. They're the one with the problem. By taking a more conservative stance, you're letting your stakeholders know that you take their money seriously, that you won't skip steps and take risks with their capital. They'll respect you for it. It builds trust. That doesn't mean the deal is dead. It means there's some problems that must be resolved before you can move forward. If there's an issue with title, perhaps it can be cleared up prior to closing. If it's a problem for you, then it's going to be a problem for virtually any buyer. The problem is not a buyer problem. The seller owns the problem, and they have a significant incentive to resolve it. Otherwise, they won't be able to close. After closing, your negotiating leverage has evaporated. Now, I've outlined a fictitious example here. Deal momentum comes in many shapes and sizes. It might be a broker who's pushing to get the deal closed. It might be an investor who's committed a large sum of capital to the project. As a deal sponsor, you've got the same responsibility as the launch director at NASA. You can pause the launch with 10 seconds remaining on the launch clock. That doesn't mean the entire mission is scrubbed. It means not today. It means we need to make the deal safer. It means negotiation with the seller to solve the problem. It means strengthening the team. It means not rushing into a disaster. But if real estate's a mental game, and most decisions are made emotionally, be mindful of deal momentum. Have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.